Thank you for your attention. What a great crowd. I'm Dan Gibbons from the City Club of Chicago. On behalf of our board chair, Omar Dagestani, and our past board chair, Jackie Robinson-Ivy. Omar, Jackie right here. Thank you on behalf of City Club for joining us here today. We have an incredible program, an incredible day, and a few things to mention. But before all of that, we have some young folks here that are going to entertain us and I believe inspire us. So I'd like for you to, as you continue to pass and eat your lunch, but hold your conversation maybe for a couple minutes while we hear from the Brooks High School Blue Symphonies.
She knew my world around her, my love like burned for her alone, but she couldn't see the flame, only my blame. I should have known, I should have known.
I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, your faith was strong,
So nobody told me that they were going to sing my favorite song, so that's going to throw me a little bit here. Thank you to the Gwendolyn Brooks High School Blue Symphonies. How amazing. And proof that arts in the schools makes a difference and an impact, right? Living proof right there. Thank you for your attention and for enjoying that as much, hopefully, as I did. I'm going to get into this. We have a lot of speakers today, and I know we usually have a few more minutes to talk, but we're going to hear from a couple people first, and we want to do of course, our thank yous. So I encourage you to please continue eating, and then maybe the conversation can continue after. If I can get a thumbs up from our board, are we okay to just keep moving? We don't usually have this many panelists and someone as incredible as Pedro Martinez. So let's get right to it. We can't do this, and we can't share this platform and highlight these young people without companies and institutions that sponsor us. So thank you to the Chicago Public Schools, of course, Clayco, who is always so supportive, Ingenuity, where are you all? Quattro Business Support Services, Griffin Museum of Science and Industry, of course, and Parliament Collective Intelligence. Thank you to those sponsors. As I said, that allows us to share this wonderful City Club platform and talk about some of these issues that need extra attention. And as you know, here at City Club, we bring together the best and the brightest, and you all are the best and the brightest of the everyone from funders to public servants to businesses and especially so many leaders in the arts today. So thank you all for being here. There's so many people that have done so much. I can just see right in front of me, Janet Carl Smith is here, David Vitale, Zach Lazar. All these folks have done so much for the arts in Chicago. Claire Rice is here from Arts Alliance. We're gonna be doing some more programs, right, Claire? Focused on the arts. Because I also heard that we have to do that from Nora Daly, who's here. Where's Nora? Hi, Nora. Thank you for being here and for your commitment to public service and the arts through the State Illinois Arts Council. Nora Gaynor's here. Well, we're on Nora's. Nora Gaynor's here from the Art Institute. So, we are covering all sorts of institutions and all sorts in different generations of people who are leading here in Chicago, moving this city forward the right way with the arts in mind. So thank you for all of that acknowledgement. Today is the first program that we've had, and I'm just, especially after that song, I'm just going to do this quickly because there's going to be a lot more to be said about someone who's not in the room today. And so many of you knew her, and Lori Healy was one of the most I don't know how to ever do these things, but I think maybe we think about for a minute about Lori Healy and her impact on this city. And we can think about the arts, but we could also think about economic impact. We can think about personal impact and mentorship. We can think about friendship and education and transit and public spaces and women's issues and women leadership, future generations. I could go on and on and on. I obviously didn't prepare anything because wasn't even going to say anything because I thought I might lose it. She's a very dear friend of mine, and she was on our board here at City Club, and we are going to just miss her as a city. She has changed this city like no other woman that I've ever met. Thank you, Lori Healy, and let's give her a round of applause, maybe. I think that's a good way, fitting way to say thank you to such a good friend whose legacy is going to live on through young people, especially and the Obama Presidential Center and the so many institutions. Again, I'm going to get this more organized, and we're going to actually do a program about the impact of Lori Healy and women leaders that she has inspired. But for now, thank you for indulging me in that. Our city is better because of her and will continue to be. Our city is also better because of this public servant who's sitting here, who I'm going to hand this mic over to. He is an incredible public servant who has run the public schools for a number of years as CEO, but he has also run for so many other years behind the scenes in the finances and a lot of things that we didn't know about that brought us to where we are in this city and far better off than we were. Please welcome again back to City Club, Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez.
All right, everybody.
Leave that right there.
So I have a lot to cover, so you're gonna have to mind me because I have to go through a lot of stuff, but I gotta give you like 30 seconds of context real quick. So number one, I gotta brag on our amazing high school. So by the way, Brooks, if you look at the last 10 years and their trajectory, one of the best high schools in the damn state, okay? One of the best. And if you go there, I gotta tell you, you know, and I love some of the healthy competition within my high schools. I gotta tell, like, Walter Payton, Whitney Young, Northside Prep, you better watch out. That's all, I'll leave it at that. The second is that, fun fact, when you look at our high schools overall, and we have over 100 of them, did you know that 40% of our high schools are in the top third of the nation? Okay? Take that in. Take that in. I get it. Look, everybody's like, how do I get my kid into one of these selective enrollment schools? 40% of our high schools are in the top third of the nation on USA rankings. That looks at college readiness. That looks at rigor. I mean, they're in the top third. So I just got to say that. And then in terms of today, I couldn't be more excited to talk about this topic. So, you know, we hear so much, oh, CPS doesn't do anything in the arts. CPS, you know, all this really negativity. And so today, you know, I'm going to give you a lot. And the reason it's a lot is, one, to set up the context for the panel, but I want you to take this message. We don't do anything in our district without depth. You understand that? We don't do anything, whatever it is, whether it's the arts, whether it's our teacher pipelines, whether it's, you know, our dual credit, dual enrollment, advanced placement, international baccalaureate, I can go on and on and on. We don't do anything without depth. And it is, and what I'm sharing with you is not only my passion, but a little bit of my frustration that everybody wants to always minimize that. And that is not right. And so this is why I'm going to give you a lot in the arts, right? More than we normally would, because you need to understand the depth. And when you hear today, I want you to, we can talk about so many other topics, and the same depth exists, which is why this district performs so damn well. All right? So again, I got to start with that context. I know. It's boring day, right? Boring day, yeah. All right, so first of all, again, thank you, Dan. Thank you, the City Club, for having us. And what I love is this room is full, but not only are you here to, you know, to be part of this, but so many of you are in-depth partners. And I gotta tell you, that's another thing that we do in our district. We don't do any of this work alone, everybody. We have a huge impact on the city, and because of that, there's no shortage of people who wanna partner with us, so I wanna thank you for that, first of all. So, let's get into it. So today, I'm honored to introduce Cultivating Creativity CPS Education Plan 2.0. Again, Cultivating Creativity, our CPS Art Education Plan 2.0. This is a bold new chapter in our district to committing to the arts. This plan not only renews our promise of equity, it reaffirms what we believe, that every child deserves to be part of an arts program that's transformative. By the way, little history. As a student, CPS student, my first time in an art class, and this is in the 1980s, was in my senior year. Okay? Never had access to the arts in elementary school or middle school. And in high school, I was so scared of it. It was a graduation requirement. I still have a poem, because I'm like, why do you have it as a graduation requirement? And I waited till my senior year to take it. Fast forward, One of my children, 11-year-old, she's a 5th grader, Darwin. Her way to relax is she literally goes to the corner and just starts drawing. She could do art and crafts every single day, every single hour. So imagine that perspective from a dad who, again, I was scared of the arts all the way. And by the way, her grandfather could hear a song and play it on 4 different instruments that he learned himself, right? And so again, to just double down on what the power of the arts are and how it brings out, talents in our children. So for us, by the way, arts is not just an extracurricular. It is part of the core work. It is part of essential. It is essential. It is more than just dancing, playing music. It is about young people finding their voice. You heard a great example with Brooks. And we know that the arts have an exciting way of getting our children to get, to really get confident. I mean, I still remember in one of my former districts, very high poverty, and we had children play in front of thousands of people at an event, and you could see their confidence, and that's what the art does for us. So this is why this plan matters now. So earlier in the school year, we released our strategic plan, Success 2029, and the work in the arts is integral to the strategic plan. In 2012, CPS was the first major urban district in the country to declare arts in our high schools as a core subject and adopt the district-wide arts education plan. And like I said, we have so many partners. This was a groundbreaking move and one that put our district on the map. Since then, we've made quite a bit of progress. In fact, so one of the things that we decided, everybody, 4 years ago, is that no more were we going to have any of our schools not to have a fine arts teacher. And so that was 4 years ago. We codified even in our last union contract what we call holistic teachers, which are elective teachers. There is no elementary school in our district that doesn't have at least 3 elective teachers. One of them has to be a fine arts teacher. So by the way, lesson learned for the community, because CPS hadn't done that before, guess what we struggle with? There's a shortage of certified art teachers for the elementary schools. Not in the high school, because we've had art in the high school for a while, but there is a shortage. So again, note for all the higher ed partners here, right? So again, just to give you how all this is interconnected. But I'm proud, I'm very proud that as we speak today, we know going forward, no school in CPS will ever have less than 3 elective teachers, and our larger schools have multiple elective teachers. So that's why our largest can have art, they can have music, and they can still have a STEM program or a world languages program. We've also grown our course offerings in the arts, mainly through our partnerships. Our partnerships include 400 cultural organizations, many of them which are in the room today. Since 2013, the Creative Schools Fund has provided $21 million in grants. 21 million. And they've closed the gaps. They've closed the gaps in ensuring that, again, that we have more resources in our schools. So they've helped provide materials, training for teachers, and made a significant impact. And then through the direct efforts of the creative schools and certification program and working with Ingenuity, we've created now really what I would call a quality control system. Because everybody, it's not just having the arts. We got to make sure the rigor is there. We got to make sure the quality is there. So in order to track the progress, schools are rated on a 5-tier scale from incomplete data to excelling. The results are published in the State of the Arts Report, which is our first public-facing data-driven snapshot of arts across the district. So we are showing everybody where we're at. And by the way, that's the way we get better, right? We got to start somewhere and we build. As Bogdana would have said, it's about continuous improvement. This data transparency has made Chicago a leader in the arts, specifically around access to arts education. It helps us measure and celebrate progress. And in fact, when we compare in 2012, there are 96,000 more students who attend schools rated as excelling in the arts, the highest category since 2012. 96,000. Now, I know you know this, but you realize, right? 325,000 students. The next largest district to us is Elgin with about 46,000. So 96,000 students is not a small feat. And we've achieved a 10% point increase in the arts staffing over the last 5 years from 67 to 77% of our schools, meeting the staffing benchmarks. And the way we set it up, everybody, is that we want a ratio of no more than 350 students to a teacher. This is also a 179% increase in the percentage of schools rated in excelling since school year 12-13. And we're proud that the 400+ art organizations are partnering with our district, and again, in an in-depth way. But more than helping us celebrate our wins, the transparency is also helping our parents to understand where we're at and, again, where we're moving forward. Our new arts plan is actually about building on that, and now it's going deeper. Because we know that, again, we can't just look at access. We have to focus on access and quality. And so this approach is guided by a simple but powerful fact: to be truly equitable, access and quality in the arts education must be addressed, measured, and invested in everybody. There are no shortcuts. I've been in other districts who have always invested in the arts, and they invested from kindergarten or pre-K all the way to 12th grade, and they've done it for so many years. Our district, again, is almost a relative baby in this. Again, it started back in 2012, 2013. But now that we've been at it for more than a decade, we're already seeing the impact. To guide our work, the plan contains 11 priority areas, from staffing, facilities matter, curriculum, professional learning, arts integration, and collaborative partnerships. Everybody, again, we cannot do this work alone. This city has an amazing arts community. So to be able to leverage that, and most importantly, these strategies and tools will allow us to identify which schools and students are furthest from opportunity, so that we can then collectively organize the arts sector to provide targeted supports. So again, everybody, let's repeat this. As we talk about this transparency of where schools are at, rather than the approach of embarrassing a school or punishing a school, what if as a community we came together and said, hey, how can we get more partnerships there? How do we work to make sure that students do have the quality that they deserve? I'm also excited that our plan creates a new unifying instructional framework that follows our students' developmental journey, from creative exploration in the early years to discrete artistic pathways in high school. This shift to a developmentally aligned instructional approach represents the critical evolution of how CPS structures arts education across the district. Again, everybody, there has to be quality, has to be rigorous. This model provides a common language and structure that supports stronger curriculum design and targeted professional learning and clearer communication with families and communities. In other words, everybody, one of the things that I get complimented a lot nationally, how is it that a district your scale can execute with such coherence? There's no shortcuts. And anybody who works in large organizations, it is about being really clear about expectations, the standards, the frameworks, how we implement it. We can't have 600+ schools doing different things. It just doesn't work. Finally, this work can't happen just within CPS. This new plan will require the collective strength of the entire city's arts sector. Investing in the arts is a civic strategy. It is how we build more creative, connected, and a compassionate city. And our students are not just future artists, they're the future engineers, entrepreneurs, teachers, and organizers who have the potential for amazing creativity. Whether they go on to design public spaces, run theater companies, compose music, or innovate in technology, the creative habits they build in our arts classrooms today will shape the Chicago of tomorrow. I want to thank the many partners who made the Arts 2.0 plan possible. Our students, first of all, our teachers who participated in focus groups, shared ideas, and kept us grounded in what matters most. Our Department of Arts Education, led by César Torruella, for their leadership, coordination, and advocacy. The team at Ingenuity, led by Nicole Upton. Thank you, Nicole, for more than a decade of partnership and data stewardship. And all of you for being part of this launch and hopefully part of the work ahead. Before I close, I want to offer a special thank you to the Civic Consulting Alliance and their partner, the Zeno Group. Over the past year, they've helped us play a critical role in helping us design, refine, and bring this plan to life. Their team brought not only technical expertise, but deep strategic insight, empathy, and commitment to the equity that we believe in CPS. Thank you for everyone here for standing with us and for helping us shape the plan that reflects the voices of our communities, the creative potential of every student in the Chicago Public Schools. This is, everybody, what partnership looks like: listening deeply, working collaboratively, and staying focused on student impact. So let today be the first step towards a brighter future, a call to action. I urge you to read the plan. There's a lot there. Then share it, then fund it. Share it, then fund it, to make sure that every student in Chicago is not only taught, but also seen, heard, and empowered through the arts. Let's cultivate creativity together. So, at this time, everyone, I'm honored to introduce someone whose leadership has been instrumental in bringing this bold vision to life. César, our Executive Director of Arts Education at the Chicago Public Schools, and then César will moderate today's panel discussion, which will explore how our Arts Education Plan 2.0 will shape the future of learning in Chicago. César, over to you.
All right, friends, we have a lot to go through. Thank you so much, CEO. We're going to do this in 30 minutes, are we? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We just heard from CEO Martinez about the vision behind the CPS Arts Education Plan. You've seen that arts education access has grown over the years as a direct result of our collective investments. CPS is now poised to begin focusing on the quality of arts education that students are receiving in so many of our schools today. We're joined by 5 outstanding leaders whose work is helping shape a stronger future of the arts education in Chicago. We'll begin with our Chief Education Officer, Bogdana Chkoumbova. She helps ensure that students across Chicago has access to high-quality educational experiences that will help prepare them for success in college and fulfilling careers. Nicole Upton is the Executive Director of Ingenuity. An organization that works to ensure that every student in Chicago Public Schools has access to quality arts education. She leads a passionate team that uses data, arts partnerships, and advocacy to advance equity in the arts across our city, and oversees the Creative School Fund, which has invested more than if you count this year, $24 million directly into CPS programs. Principal of Cameron Elementary School, Michael Herring. Principal Herring, principal of Cameron. This is his 11th year as a principal in Chicago Public Schools and has collaborated with teachers, families, and even the Department of Arts Education who are present here today. Next, we have Jared Bellot, which is he is the Clifford Director of Education and Engagement at the Goodman Theater, where he leads a team that provides programming for audiences of all ages through performances, workshops, and community partnerships. And last but not least, and Joe Panganiban is the Arts Learning Program Officer at the Lloyd Fry Foundation. The Fry Foundation supports arts programs that provide direct instruction for students and professional learning for teachers and teaching artists to improve the arts experiences for students. We'll explore what's working, what's changing, and where we go from here as we walk through some of the aspects of this plan. The 2012 Arts Education Plan recognized arts education in visual arts, music, theater, and dance as part of a core curriculum in Chicago Public Schools. A lot has happened since 2012. So my first question directly to our Chief Education Officer, Bogdana Chkoumbova: how does arts education fit into the fabric of CPS now in 2025?
All right. Well, great question. And I will build on something that CEO Martinez said earlier. We like to do things in depth and also in a coherent way. Arts education is integral part of the way how we see quality education. And we have grounded our work to make sure that every student in Chicago has a quality of a daily learning experience. And a quality of a daily learning experience for us is defined with 3 words: rigorous, joyful, and equitable. A holistic education without arts education falls short. So we have made very significant shifts to make sure that all the work that we're doing throughout the improvement of the instructional experience in any content area actually is applied in the area of arts. A few things that I want to say around this. The quality educational experience, we're paying a lot of very close attention, first of all, to data. And Ingenuity has been absolutely instrumental, helping us to capture data that we did not have access to prior to 2012. We started understanding where students have access to arts education, what is the programmatic formation within different schools, what are some opportunities for continuing to grow. So building on this work for over a decade, many leaders before us have done this, we are now in a point where arts education is deeply rooted in our overall instructional vision for the district. And lately, CEO Martinez said this, and I want to double down on. As much as we don't like issuing mandates to schools, that was one good outcome. We actually mandated 4 years ago when he became a CEO that every school has an arts position. And not because we want to limit principal autonomy or local decision making. Sometimes you need to nudge the system and to help them understand what is possible. So right now, in every school, we have arts position. This is just the beginning, but hopefully later we can talk about what else is needed here.
Thank you, Cito. I would like to bring Principal Herring and give us a perspective on how does arts education live within the fabric of Cameron, which is a designated fine and performing arts school.
Yes, good afternoon, and I'm so happy to be here. Arts education is a huge part of Cameron and what we do. We've got an arts team. We're lucky to have visual arts, dance, music. We partially fund this through being a sustainable community school. Our leadership team made the decision around utilizing some of our funds to enhance our arts. But our school community recognizes that it goes beyond just our arts department. We expect our teachers to integrate the arts throughout the entire school through arts integration. This isn't going to just happen by saying it's going to happen. So we've provided professional development. Our general ed teachers are expected to learn the Illinois state standards for arts. And then we believe in collective accountability. So otherwise, some refer to it in our school as radical accountability. And 2 times a year, we're expecting our teachers to come around the table and provide evidence and artifacts of the arts integration that's happening in their classroom. Tomorrow, in fact, we're having our grade level team meetings all day long. Teachers will be coming in grade teams to present what they've been doing with arts integration. During their presentations, they're showcasing the artifacts, videos, photographs, and they're outlining how the Common Core state standards are melding or meshing with the Illinois state standards for their projects and units. So we had to start small. The previous principal went through the RFP process to designate Cameron as a fine and performing arts school, and then the pandemic hit. I've been a principal for 11 years only at fine and performing arts schools. At my first school, we went through the RFP process and got designated as a fine and performing arts school, and we're at ground zero. When I left that school, I was open to a new challenge, and I saw Cameron had an opening, and I knew they were also at ground zero because they were just coming off the pandemic. And so we started that first year with the expectation that every teacher would enhance their curriculum with the arts. Then the second year, the expectation was, okay, you've enhanced it, now you're going to integrate it. And then we taught them, what does integration mean? And it's not just the Common Core led teachers integrating the arts, but it's also was the arts team going the other direction and integrating the Common Core state standards into their lessons too. So it was two-way kind of meeting in the middle. During the opening presentation, CEO Martinez mentioned the exploratory arts in grades 6 through 8. One of the things I'm most proud of is that we've established that at Cameron. So in grades 5 through 8, our students have the opportunity to choose their art pathway as an exploratory option. So they have 4 options. They choose music, dance, visual art, or digital media. And the arts lead teacher in CPS, that's referred to as the MCLT, goes into all those classrooms and highlights, okay, what does that mean? What is the program? Goes over the expectations. If you choose this, you're going to be in there for a year. You can't switch. Then they get to choose. And then they go deep into that pathway. So in their elective schedule, we've created a schedule where they go to that art 3 times per week, as opposed to the 6-day rotation where the others go to their electives, as was referred earlier. So in addition, we've also built up our showcases for students. So twice a year now, we have showcases where the students are dancing, singing, displaying visual art. Our next one's on May 22nd. And I've also worked with our PPC, which is our Professional Problems Committee, to ensure that we flexed out the time to require all the teachers to work that night. So all hands on deck, everybody has a role, and the 22nd of this, we were expecting 200 students to perform.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you, Cito, also for sharing the district's perspective and what's happening in our school around arts education. We'd love to hear now the funders' perspective and bring Joe into the conversation. Why does Fry Foundation and other funders within the CAEC support arts education, and how might a new arts education plan help the philanthropic sector?
The Fry Foundation, this is really exciting hearing about the plan because it really aligns with the foundation's goal of improving access and quality for arts for students across the city. Personally speaking, looking at the students at Brooks, that is part of the reason why we want to support it. Seeing not only the opportunities that they have to perform, but thinking about all the work that they did to learn all the music, to think about those fundamentals that they've learned in order to be able to perform for you all. I think about all the things that CEO Martinez said about what the arts does for students, developing creative problem-solving skills, thinking about, again, just being in this room, building the community of all of our great partners that are really invested in the work. We want to really support the ability for any student, no matter where they come from, their ability level, to be able to experience art within their school. In terms of why an arts plan is important, I think thinking about as a funder, having that data to understand what are the needs of the schools, having to understand how our grant making is going to be impactful, and then hopefully having this roadmap really leans into what is the community saying, what are the needs of the schools, and being able to build upon the needs to have an even more robust program for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, thank you so much. In Goal 2 of the Arts Education Plan, it's all about high quality. Arts education aims to establish a new infrastructure for quality focused on what and how student learns and how the district will support, measure, and evaluate that training, that learning. High quality curriculum is a cornerstone of quality student learning, and in every discipline, educators must have access to comprehensive curricula in their artistic disciplines that is rigorous, standards-based, and provide multiple content and process pathways for students to choose what and how they learn. The plan calls for a comprehensive curricula including teacher, student-facing resources, and currently the market of available arts curricula contains a varying level of quality, accessibility, cost, leading many educators to develop their own materials or piece together multiple disconnected sources. As a result, quality vary widely based on individual educator capacity, school and organizational leadership priorities, and available funding. Chief Education Officer Bogdana Chkoumbova, given that, what does it take to move from the current state where art teachers often develop their curriculum and teaching resources to a truly comprehensive standards-aligned arts curriculum that is both rigorous, adaptable to individual student needs?
Great question. What César just described to you a few years ago was actually the state of the quality of the curriculum in the district in all content areas. It was local. Teachers, individual schools were left to their own kind of decision-making, what type of learning materials they can use, how to use them, and to adopt them. One of the big shifts that we as a system made in the last 3 or 4 years was actually unprecedented adoption of high-quality learning materials in our schools, all content areas. English, math, science, social science, world languages, and so forth. Our previous leadership team in CPS have made a huge investment in developing a district digital curriculum platform called Skyline. And this is where we as a district provide access to schools, teacher teams, to adopt high-quality learning materials. So earlier I said we don't do anything in isolation. So arts is part of our next phase of actually designing and uploading within the digital platform high-quality arts curriculum. The approach that we took, given the fact that we're in Chicago, very rich arts community, and also we have talented arts educators, we started the process in developing visual arts curriculum. Right now we already have some of the first units ready to go. And the designers of this curriculum are our own arts educators, teachers, with the support from so many partners. So this is the pathway, that's part of the plan, making sure that we design the curriculum that is culturally responsive, that actually students can see not only themselves, but they can see the rich cultural landscape of Chicago, the city that they live in and they grow up in. So a lot of efforts in that regard, and it's also coupled with a very strong professional learning systems, because it's not just about putting new quality materials in front of teachers. They need the support to adopt, to make sure that they make them their own. So our arts department has been providing a lot of professional learning, but it was really hard because it was based on different learning materials used in different schools. Now we're looking forward to provide additional support and professional development for our teachers, and I'm really excited in the next couple of years to have high-quality curriculum in all arts disciplines.
Absolutely, thank you so much. The plan outlines a unifying instructional framework built around 4 developmental phases. Creative exploration from pre-K to 2nd grade, arts integration in grades 3rd to 5th, exploratory choice in grades 6 through 8, and artistic pathways in grades 9 through 12. Nicole, Upton, Executive Director of Ingenuity. Can you tell us why this approach in the new plan, and how is this different from current instructional approaches, and what does this look like? What examples you can provide?
So as Cito here said, we're working within such a large system. There are lots of different approaches on the individual school level. And the same goes for arts education. We actually are 5 content areas. Let's not forget that in the arts. We're music, theater, dance, visual art, and media arts. So times 5 of all the work that needs to happen. Some of the feedback that came through really clearly in the process of creating this arts education plan really kind of led to the articulation of these instructional approaches, really leaning into developmental stages. Where are children at when they're in kindergarten? What should they be doing as part of their educational schooling? How do children in grades K through 2 learn? Well, how do kids in K through 2 learn? Play, right? Creatively exploring, really using the arts as an opportunity to move, to sing, to make beats, to be in artistic engagement with others within their classroom, within their schools. That's how kids learn in those grades. Moving to the 3rd through 5th grade area, we also know there's a real need for academic learning alongside arts learning. It's not to say that only arts integration is going to be happening in those grades, but there's a real opportunity for students to start deepening some mastery within the arts content and the standards alongside academic standards to really help propel their learning and interconnectivity, right? Everything is so interconnected in our world. How are these concepts academically and artistically integrated, and how are our schools supporting that? And then as we move on, as we heard from Principal Herring here, that idea of choice. As kids begin to grow, some kids aren't going to want to do music. They're going to really lean into visual arts, and we want an opportunity for them to say, you know, for me, I'm really interested in exploring what visual arts means, both in the school day and out of the school day. And then artistic pathways. What we saw with the students here today was really honing in deep, getting real clarity and competence within artistic disciplines itself. This is a different kind of approach. CPS has never articulated, here's what we think students should be doing in these different grade levels. And that has resulted in challenges across the district in ensuring that students have equitable access to the arts. And so for the first time, it's a really bold step forward to say, we're going to focus on these instructional approaches at different grade levels so that we know if a student, we have a high mobility district, right? If we know a student or a teacher moves from one school to another, we can have some more assurance that what they're working on in 3rd grade in one school is going to be similar to what they're working on from the school they came from.
Thank you, Nicole. As CEO mentioned during his remarks, Chicago Public Schools brings more than 400 cultural organizations, what we call them, all art partners. And Chicago Arts and Cultural Resources bringing unique learning opportunities to all CPS students, from world-renowned museums to community dance and theater groups. While a definition of arts partner quality has been established through arts partner standards of practice, there is currently no system that measures, understands, or directly supports their instructional practice at the classroom or at the program level. The new plan is taking a bold step here by recommending a partner designation system that builds off these standards. I would love to hear from our friend Jared from the Goodman Theater. How can CPS ensure that quality designation system for arts partners strengthens, not sidelines, small community rooted and culturally specific organizations that may operate differently than larger organizations?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Good afternoon, everyone. I came to Chicago a little over a decade ago, right after the first draft of the Arts Education Plan had been released, and it was a roadmap. And a framework and a lens through which to view the work of arts education happening in the city. And I think it cannot be overstated how much a plan like this serves to create a shared vocabulary and a sense of understanding, not just amongst educators working in schools, but amongst educators working throughout the city at all sorts of cultural institutions. Mm-hmm. The opportunity to build that shared vocabulary amongst each other only strengthens our ability to collaborate, not just with young people in our schools, not just with our colleagues who are classroom teachers and principals and admin staff, but with each other as well. Having that sense of an understanding of our destination has been vital and allows us to really tap into the rich ecosystem of arts organizations and cultural institutions that exist within the city. It allows us to collaborate not just amongst the large institutions, but really come to meeting from a place of understanding of what we're working for. Having definition, having understanding really allows us to create things that will benefit all. And rather than work independently and scramble to sort of create programming that lives in isolation, we're able to build and work in community. Over CPS spring break, in part inspired by work done by the Department of Arts Ed and Ingenuity, Goodman, alongside some of my colleagues at Steppenwolf Theater and Court Theater and Chicago Shakespeare Theater, offered a week of free programming that reached over 150 teenagers from all across the city. And we were able to do that so much in part of that shared language. So I'm really excited sort of in this next version of the plan to really think about how we can continue to define our goals and work from a common set of shared goals that we understand together, and really, again, dive into and tap into that rich ecosystem that exists within our city.
Thank you so much for elevating that and talking him through the work that Ingenuity does in collaboration with Chicago Public Schools. I'd like to hear from Nicole. How could we bring a stronger arts-specific data system that elevates the overall value of arts education within Chicago Public Schools, not only measuring student success, but really influencing policy funding and public perception of the arts as essential to a well-rounded education?
Yeah, he asked me the data question. That's totally appropriate. Yeah, we're doing it, actually. We're already doing it in Chicago. I think that's really important to remember. Again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we couldn't tell you who was teaching arts in what school, right? We have completely revolutionized, and I know it's sometimes hard because we can be insular in our own cities and in Chicago, but Chicago truly is the national model. Other cities look to the data systems that we have built to say, how can we get that for the state of Alabama? How can we get this data infrastructure for my school district? Because they see that data tells you where you need to make change. Data isn't just something nice to have. Data is all about taking action on the data. Otherwise, what do you have it for? We have an opportunity now, because we're kind of 10 years ahead of where other cities are, to say, okay, we've gotten really good at collecting data on access. We can tell you what the landscape looks like. We've still got some work to do on that landscape, but we have an opportunity here to think about a data system around quality. That's complex. It is not an easy thing to answer. You ask 4 arts teachers in the district, what does a quality arts curriculum look like? And you might get 4 answers right now. And so how we build this system, what it looks like, has to be done, just like we do everything here in Chicago in the arts, in collaboration and in community, by hearing from teachers, by hearing from school leaders, by hearing from arts partners, by hearing from parents and students themselves on what does quality look like in arts education, and how do we figure out a way to systematize that so that we understand, again, not to be punitive, but to really understand how to make change, how to provide schools and teachers and partners with the resources they need to elevate that quality. Because as we heard this morning, CEO say, we don't have equity in arts education until the access is high quality. That's it. That is our next frontier with this work, and it's really exciting. It's our next natural step.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, panelists, for participating in this conversation. As we are wrapping up this amazing conversation, this is just the start of a new world and a new era for Chicago Public Schools focused on arts education. Thank you so much for being in here, everyone. We now have a few minutes for questions from the audience. And if you like, here you go. Yeah.
I know we have some pre-submitted, but if there are any from the audience, I'm happy to
go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. If you like to ask us something, please raise your hand. Dan is going to be running around. Here you go. Have one back there. And
get to work off the pasta, Dan.
Yes.
Yeah. Is this working? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Please introduce.
Thank you. I'm Tina Hone from the Chicago Center for Arts and Technology. Fabulous conversation. What I'm interested in is whether or not we can find the data that shows what we believe anecdotally, that it's the arts that is not just improving outcomes in the arts, but improving outcomes sort of across the spectrum.
Yep, I can attempt that, and then I think César probably has some words too. I think that is part of the next frontier as well. That's something that's actually called for within one of the strategies of the plan, is to dig deeper into opportunities to do that kind of research. We now have a very strong, stable set of data that we can actually have valid studies to actually do comparisons on arts and attendance or chronic absenteeism, right? We're just starting to approach, I think, that work now. And I think that is something we hear very frequently at Ingenuity and continue to want to press forward with.
And I'll add, the 2012 plan set the foundation and the infrastructure for Ingenuity in collaboration with Chicago Public Schools to begin collecting, tracking, measuring, supporting access data. And our goal with this new plan is also to set that same infrastructure now to start measuring, collecting, reporting, and supporting high-quality arts education across our schools.
So Graham Grady's old school. He's right here, but he wrote his question out, and I can read his handwriting, so I'm going to read it. Thank you, Graham, for this great question. What is your recommendation for a permanent funding stream for arts education? That's an easy one.
No pressure.
Did somebody bring the hat to pass around? Just kidding.
I'm going to pass it to, actually, the Fry Foundation, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Fix it, Joe.
Yeah, we have lots of money. It's happening. I think, as we've been talking about, really it's in collaboration with having conversations with the community. We know what's happening out in the world and understanding, okay, why is arts education a priority for not just students in Chicago, but all students across the country? We make our investments at the Fry Foundation. We find ways to support not just areas of the plan that aligns with the plan, but we've been doing this for a while, trying to figure out how to increase that access, now focusing on that quality piece. But again, this takes this type of conversation. I'm so glad that we're all in this room to really start this, to really elevate this, because sometimes the arts education, we have that piece that arts education is always the first to go. We don't want that to be the case. We do not want to have that as the floor anymore. We are here, we have the data, we know what we're doing. So how do we continue to build upon that?
Thank you. And I'll add, we are already building systems of supports for our entire arts partner community. We know what is happening and that there has been a lot of shifts in funding mechanisms and funding models. I will say that when CPS first adopted the first arts education plan, we were in a very similar reality back then. Yet right. Look at all the amazing work and progress that we have accomplished because we are in this together. This is just not Chicago Public Schools putting a plan out there and putting it out there to you all funders, go fund it. No, we're working on this together. We're co-developing the strategies and implementation, and we're fundraising together. We're supporting our schools and expanding our student arts learning opportunities together. And this is what is so beautiful that I've learned in the 2 years that I've transitioned here in Chicago, is that if there is something that Chicago will do, it's come together as a community to support our future, and that means our students.
And I want to say, there are actually methods of sustainable funding that have been created as a result of that work that we did over 10 years ago. The Creative Schools Fund, as we shared, now this year, $24 million has been invested in schools. There's actually reports on your table if you want to find out more about the impact that it's had. So, that is a model of public-private partnership. CPS can't do this work alone, but all of us together, aligned around a vision of a new plan, who can kind of pick and tackle the contents of that plan collectively, will help us go farther, rather than having kind of individualized approaches to what we're funding and who's taking on what. A plan like this is the opportunity to, again, as Jared kind of said, create that shared language and the shared direction, so we all know, here's how we're gonna get there together. No one entity is gonna be able to do this alone. That's just not how it works. So we all have to see this plan, not just financially too. There's a lot in the plan that doesn't actually have a huge dollar sign, right? Some of this is the work of our work. So we have to think about what are all of the investments that our organizations, that our communities, that our leadership can make from our kind of realm of influence, from our organizational kind of perches that we sit on, to figure out how can we contribute to this plan? How does it actually already assist what my organization is also trying to accomplish?
Thank you, Nicole. I think that's absolutely right. I think, Dan, we have one more question.
Two, if we can keep them quick, we have two, okay?
Right, 2 questions.
Thank you. Elby Rodriguez Ochoa, Chicago Community Art Studio, and my question is, with all this amazing focus on the arts, what are you going to do about your vendor process? Because it is cumbersome, especially for a small organization like mine. Like, I'm it right now. And it took someone I know a year to go through that process, which is ridiculous.
Thank you for elevating. I think that, you know, from the laughs in the room, we do recognize how burdensome and rigorous this process is. This process has been in place, because of our student protections, and we are, you know, working directly with students, and we want to make sure that we are going through our safety procedures and policies. While we acknowledge that, we also have to acknowledge that the more 750 current arts education vendors have been struggling, right? We want to make sure one of the recommendations and priority areas actually on this plan is to ensure that we're working with our procurement office and establishing a more fair process for our partners to become vendors, to provide services for our schools. So we are working actively with our Chief Procurement Officer and the Procurement Office in Chicago Public Schools to ensure that we're streamlining this, and it's a recommendation of this plan.
It's a very City Club question, right? We're here to elevate the conversation, address the tough issues, and actually make things better. So
hey,
thank you for that.
That's what it is.
Great. One more here.
All right, very quickly. Wendy Lewis, Chicago Sinfonetta. What has been the impact to families and communities, and do you track that information?
All right, so I'm going to bring 2 people to answer that question. First, I'm going to start with Nicole Upton to talk about some of the data around family and community engagement that is published as part of the State of the Arts report that recently just got published.
Yeah, family and community engagement is where it's at, right? We know this is a hugely important piece of school culture and school community, certainly Principal Herring, and I know Chief Chkoumbova can also speak to that from their experiences. And we know it's that important in that we've been actually tracking data on family and community engagement for now 12 or 13 years. When we're looking at the holistic picture of what we think schools should consider and include when they are building a strong or an excelling arts program, family and community engagement is part of that calculation. And it's not necessarily a hard thing to do, but it's something that we recognize, I think principals and school leaders and teachers probably need some support in figuring out how to do that. Everything from, as a teacher, how do I convene an art exhibition in my building, in the school gym, to engaging parents in the school play and having, you know, a dad make costumes or whatever the case may be. But we think it is an essential component. It will continue to stay part of the metrics that we look at when we're looking at what makes a school strong in the arts. Family and community engagement is an anchor.
Thank you, Nicole. And before we go, I want to leave everyone in here with a challenge and an invitation. This plan is not just CPS, it's a citywide plan. It's a call to action for every single person in this room to come together in community, to support it, to fund it, to invest in it, either if that is financial or resources or time, right? Chicago Public School is saying, the doors are open. Have a seat at the table. Come to us. We want to work with you all. The Arts Education Plan is just not an initiative. It's a citywide call to action. Whether you're an educator, a funder, a policymaker, a business leader, a parent, a partner, you have a role in this plan. And so here's how you can get involved. This is the first conversation we're having as we launch officially this plan today. Our next presentation will be on May 20th. Our partners and Children First Fund Chicago Public Schools Foundation has graciously scheduled on May 20th at the Impact House a funders conversation and a funders convening. So I hope to see you all in there. In your tables, you have folders to take home with you with invitations to these and other events and some of the assets that we have discussed together today. And here's a challenge. Here's the ask. Share the plan with your networks. Let others know that Chicago is once again leading the nation in arts education. Partner with Chicago Public Schools or Ingenuity. If you are part of a cultural institution, a funder, we want to collaborate with you all. Attend this funder conversation on May 20th, hosted by Children First Fund. Scan the QR code to reserve your tickets. Tickets are limited. Support a school. Help ensure students have the space, materials, teaching artists that they deserve. And most importantly, amplify our students' voice. Make space for our young people to be artists, to be thinkers, and to be the leaders that Chicago needs. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, César. And thank you to the panelists, not only for being here and sharing all this today, and please stick around for a second. We'd like to do a photo, but thank you for all that you're doing on a daily basis, and same to all of you who are doing great things. That was an awesome conversation that we'll have on our website tomorrow that you can also share for folks who couldn't get in the room since we had a sellout crowd. Soon, actually on Monday, we have Congresswoman Robin Kelly. I believe she just announced something. Are they cutting me off? Okay, it's that time. It's 1:16. We have some more seats for Congresswoman Kelly on Monday, May 12th. On May 19th, we have the Housing Commissioner join us for that conversation. And then on May 20th, not during the day to conflict with your event, but in the evening, we're having a different kind of an event, an exclusive screening of Mental Health in America, a PBS documentary in conjunction with the Kennedy Forum. Really going to be interesting. We're going to do that at the Firehouse Restaurant in South Loop. So some really interesting programs coming up. The Planning Commissioner is coming soon. I'm not ready to announce that date yet, but it's coming. And a lot of good happening. You know it's summer in Chicago when you have to fight the bridge openings on Wednesdays. So hopefully you all get out of here safely and enjoy the beautiful weather. And thank you for being at City Club. Come join us again. Make sure you're on our list so you can be part of all these amazing programs. Thanks to everybody at CPS who's doing this amazing work. Thank you, Pedro.